Greetings, I am Chief Justice Truma Mocha Blue Blaze Yakuba, and my family has a few very pressing things going on. This has been a pretty challenging year, but I'm doing this video to tell the story about what is going on with my husband. Back in February, my husband was pulled over by the police and charged with presenting false information to a police officer and concealed weapons charge. So my husband is Chief Minko Yakuba of the Kuto Gula Kawila Nation. He is a tribal chief, and he presented his tribal ID when he was pulled over by the officers. In 2020, we attended chief school, mostly for both of our training on how to perform our duties as chief and chiefess. And while we were in school, we were taught about Nevada laws concerning carrying a firearm. And so Nevada laws, in Nevada, Nevada is an open carry state, so you can carry your firearm as long as you don't conceal it. So that was like something that was very, it was reiterated over and over again that if we were deciding to have a firearm and we didn't have a concealed to carry license or permit, that we should always keep our weapons visible. So that was something that as long as he was carrying, and anybody else in our tribe and in our chief school was carrying their firearm, they would make sure that it was visible. And that's not something that he would do. So he was pulled over, and the officer, he presented his tribal ID. The officer didn't believe that the tribal ID was valid, so they arrested him. And they asked him to step out of the car. When he was asked to step out of the car, he informed the police officer that he had his firearm on him. So as soon as he stepped out of the car, the police still charged him with having a concealed weapon. Okay, he stayed in jail for about 4 days. And they impounded our vehicle and everything. So after he was released, of course, we went and picked up the vehicle, and there was a court date set. So for the first court date, our Attorney General was waiting on the video feed to be included in the court proceedings. The judge did not allow her to represent my husband and appointed him a public defender. He basically kind of made fun of us or him for saying that he was tribal, and told us that we watched too much YouTube, and threatened to lock him up on a mental evaluation if he proceeded to say that. But so my husband told him that no, he didn't want to be locked up for a mental evaluation, and the judge, the public defender that he assigned my husband, got another court date. So we got another court date. So between the time of the first court date and the second court date, our Attorney General and Prime Minister provided the DA's office, the District Attorney's office, with the credentials proving that my husband is a tribal chief. And the District Attorney dropped the charges on the presenting false information to a police officer. So acknowledging that we my husband is a tribal chief. So the second court date, the judge, he was informed that that particular charge was dropped, but they were still trying to press the concealed weapons charge, even after the probable cause charge had been dropped. My husband asked the public defender that he was assigned to present a motion to drop the charges on the concealed weapon, because there was no concealed weapon, and she pressed that he take the deal, and my husband wasn't willing to take the deal, because the deal consisted of my husband relinquishing his firearm, which is a family heirloom that his aunt left him before she passed away, and he wasn't willing to do that. It was his property. Not only that, you know, when you take a plea bargain, that's a type of admission of guilt. So he was like, you know, I didn't do anything wrong, so he wasn't interested in taking a plea bargain. So the public defender told him that he probably wouldn't win if he argued that he didn't have the concealed weapon, because the police officer could change his story. And I was like, well, he said in the way the report read, it shows, you know, it lined up with what my husband was saying, as far as most of the stuff, other than the concealed weapon part, you know. So, but you know, she refused to present the motion, and she continued to press him about taking a deal. And my husband was like, you know, we'll fight it in court. Getting close to the next court date, there was a new deal presented, and that was that my husband would get his firearm back, but if he couldn't get in trouble for 6 months, and then they dropped the charges. And my husband didn't want to take that deal either, because that's still an admission of guilt. He was still asking the public defender to present a motion to drop the charges, and she was pressing for him to take the deal. So the night before court, she called around 7 o'clock. I think it was kind of late. It was late. It was after business hours, and she told my husband that if he didn't want to take the deal, that she didn't want to represent him. And court was the very next day. We did not have time to obtain counsel. The judge wasn't allowing our tribal attorney or our attorney general to represent him in court. She said it has to be a lawyer that practices law in the state of Nevada. I mean, well, he said, the judge said. So that the next morning, I dropped my husband off in front of the courthouse, and I went to go and park the car. By the time, I mean, it didn't take long at all for me to, I mean, that long anyway. Anyway, so I go upstairs and go to the courtroom that my husband has told me that he's going to be in, and it was dark and locked. And so I walked, you know, down farther, because I was like, maybe I got the wrong courtroom. And one of the bailiffs came out and asked me who was I looking for. Was I looking for the guy in the hat? Because my husband was wearing his tribal chief hat to court. And I was like, yes. And he told me that they had taken him into custody. And I was like, why? You know, he said he didn't know. So I waited for hours until my husband could finally call me, and he called me and told me that he had been taken into custody for a mental evaluation. Nothing criminal, just saying that he needed to be evaluated mentally for 15 days. So it went past the 15 days, and they held a private court on a Friday when you know, Clark County, Vegas shuts down on Friday. There's no regular court, so it was a special court that they held on a Friday with and my husband still didn't have proper representation. He had a public defender that he hadn't even spoke with, and they deemed him incompetent. They said that he was a danger to himself and a danger to the public, and said that he would be detained at a mental institution for 6 months and, until they reevaluate him. And all of this was because he didn't want to take a plea bargain. Of course, if someone was to go and check out his charges, they're going to say the concealed weapon. But we have paperwork where a judge deemed him incompetent, and they're holding him for that reason. I spoke with one lawyer that someone referred me to, and he told me that I needed at least $25,000 for him to take the case. He does see that my husband's rights was violated, but that's how much money he needs. We do not have that. So right now my husband has been in jail for 2 months. The day that he was locked up, his father died. They held off for a month before they buried his father, and then they buried his father, so he's missed his father's memorial ceremony. He's missed his oldest daughter's birthday, missed the birth of a new grandbaby. My son had a new baby. My mother's birthday, his mother's birthday was just yesterday on August 23rd. My husband had just gotten a really good job that he lost as a result of this. And it really puts our family in a very serious and critical situation. Now, backing up to the first of this year, on January 3rd, our family had a house fire and was immediately displaced, basically, homeless. And maybe 2 weeks after the fire, my mother and my daughter were both admitted to the hospital, and they stayed there for over 2 weeks. My daughter, because she was having to sleep, my daughter has cerebral palsy and epilepsy, and she doesn't walk at all. She uses a manual wheelchair, and we were having to sleep. Well, she was having to sleep on a sectional couch. My daughter has to use a hospital bed so that she could lift her legs to keep them from swelling. There's special mattresses and stuff that she has to use, and she was unable to do that, and she developed blood clots in her legs, and she's still dealing with the blood clots. My mother had just come to stay with me. She got to Vegas December 19th, and January 3rd we had the fire. My mother suffers with kidney failure and kidney issues and congestive heart failure issues. They're both in wheelchairs, and we are displaced. We do have a temporary place to stay right now. There has been people that I want to thank so much that have helped us in so many different ways, but we really still need permanent housing, and I need to get my husband out of jail. Somebody needs to get him out of jail, and we need our legal representation, and I'm just asking that if there is anyone that is willing to help, that they will. There will be other information. I'm going to share some links where people can go and actually see the court documents, to see what's going on with this case with your own eyes. And if there's anything that you all can do to help, it would be greatly appreciated. I'm not really sure what else to say right now, but I will be posting other things here to give people updates. I am thanking God every day for the blessing of being here and having the strength to keep, things going. But it's a lot, and I really need my husband out of there to help us get stable and to be safe, okay, and free, because he does not deserve this. So if you can find it in your heart to help us, it'd be greatly appreciated. And I want to thank you for listening. Bless light, real love.